My guest today is Clarice Phelps, and I am so excited to talk to you. And I start each one saying I'm excited because I choose people that I want to get to know better and that I think East Tennessee can benefit from getting to know better, and you are one of those people. You're a research and development engineer, and that's a very simplified title for what you do because you've broken barriers and you've made history right here in our state. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you
so first, let's just talk about your life. You're a STEM girl.
Yes.
Through and through.
Yes.
Was it always that way for you growing up?
Yes, I was always like tinkering with things and tearing things apart, getting in trouble for it. I liked to know how things work, and so trying to figure things out was what we did. And even like playing around in the kitchen, mixing stuff together and trying things out that we mixed together. So it was always an exploratory childhood for me.
Was there ever a teacher or someone who kind of pushed you? Because I think a lot of girls start out that way. And then somewhere we lose it. We lose a lot of girls.
Yeah, it wasn't until about middle school for me. My 7th grade science teacher, Mr. Bass, he was awesome. I mean, he really made science like really engaging for us and involved us and made it relevant. Like, you know, when people learn about science, they're just like, okay, that's some abstract concept, but he applied it to things that, you know, were relevant to us at the time in 7th grade back in the late 19th.
Oh, you don't want to say?
The late 1900s.
As my kids say, back in the olden days.
Yeah,
that's
like,
what my kids say.
Not that far back.
But, you know, looking at your life, and for those who, you know, don't recognize your face or your name, they should, because you were part of the team to help discover an element right here in our state. And that you've made national headlines for this. So talk a little bit about your journey to becoming a scientist, because this first started, you went to a HBCU,
yes.
Tennessee State University.
Tennessee State.
Talk a little bit about your journey to making this a profession.
So I went to Tennessee State University and I pursued a degree in chemistry. And afterwards, I joined the military in the U.S. Navy, and I was a Navy nuke. And so that kind of fell in line with my love for chemistry, because on board, I maintained the reactor and steam plant chemistry controls and did all the radiological controls and monitored like the dose for the individuals in my department on the ship. And so after I got out of the Navy, I went to the lab. It was probably, there was a 9-month pause in there where I had a different job, but I quickly left that one and came to the lab, and I started out as a technician working on like isotope separations, and I loved it. It was just right up my alley. And I really didn't know after I got out of the Navy what it was that I wanted to do, but being at the lab was exactly what I felt that I needed.
Okay, so let's pause and go back a little bit, because I have to talk about your military service. So I interviewed you, this is a while back when you were trying to get all that recognition about Tennessee, being a part of that team, the first Black woman to be a part of a team to discover an element. And I look up and they were having one of the honor air flights for all women.
Yes.
And again, we have talked, you know, we have gotten to know each other. And I see you in one of the videos right here at WAT, and I was like, is that Claire? Who knew you were a veteran? You were deployed and everything. Did you always want to be in the military?
Actually, yeah, I did. So in high school, I wanted to join the Navy, and my mom was like, no, you're going to go to college. And I was like, okay. I went to college, and then afterwards, I was like, I still want to join the Navy. And so I joined the Navy, and I'm not like the first in my family to be in the military. I'm actually, gosh, I think like the 8th or 9th person in my family, like the 3rd generation of military service person. So it kind of runs in the family, and it's always something that I felt that I needed to do and that I wanted to do, and I wanted to see the world and just have some really good experiences. So yeah, to the Navy I went, and I went on the honor air flight, which was totally amazing. It was absolutely wonderful. I loved it, yeah.
What was your time like for your deployment? Where did you go?
So we went to the Middle East. I was deployed twice in 2006 and 2007. Our first deployment was about 6 months. Our second one was a little over 3 months. And so for our first deployment, we patrolled the Persian Gulf for about 3 months, and then it would take us that long to get back home. And then for the second deployment, we did what was called a rim pack. So we did the Pacific Rim. So we hit up all of the Asian countries. So we did Korea, Japan, China, and kind of patrolled the Pacific Ocean, and then came back. Yeah.
Your time of service is one of the pivotal moments in your life. Tell me about an encounter that you had with a fellow service member.
Oh, yes. So first deployment, this is not, a pleasure cruise, obviously.
Right.
So nobody's like really having such a great time. But I was on the bridge of the USS Ronald Reagan. It was around 2 in the morning, and we were doing some exercises, and we were going through the Straits of Hormuz. And there was radio chatter going on, and you could hear like from the different countries that surrounded us. That were not necessarily our friends, but there was a guy on the bridge who was getting out like the next day. He was going to get flown off, and I was like so jealous. And he was just talking to me. He's like, Salone, because that was my name at the time. He's like, Salone, you shouldn't be, sad about where you are because you are where you're supposed to be. And I was like, dude, you are nuts because you're only saying that because you're getting out tomorrow. And I'm stuck here on this ship, for another 3.5 months or whatnot. But that moment like really changed how I thought about everything that had happened to me and what was going to happen, like the steps that I've been taking to get here. And it's like nothing was by chance. Everything was planned and purposeful, whether, by my accidents or by, the choices that I made. They were all supposed to happen the way that they did to get me to where I am now. And I think I want to thank him, I can't remember his name, but just for planting that seed in me, for thinking of my life in that way. So that was just a transformational moment for me.
When you say that about, accidents, when you look at your resume and like so many people who we, deem successful, we don't think about the fact that there were some mistakes along the way. What advice would you give, especially to young people who are trying to figure it out and they want to be one day recognized for doing great things?
Yeah, I'd say, embrace both the good and the bad. And I always tell, and I told my daughter this morning actually, I was like, you actually learn more from your mistakes than you do from always getting it right. So you learn how to adapt and you learn how to figure things out for yourself and figure out, okay, I know that this was wrong. So next time I encounter something like this, I know what to do. Whereas if you always did everything right, you would never think that you would think you were perfect, and nobody's perfect. And so I would say, just embrace the failures, because that's not like typical advice. It's always like, oh, do your best. But I gave the commencement speech at Pellissippi State earlier, like a couple weeks ago in December, and I talked about failure. I said, you can learn a lot from how you fail and how you recover from that failure. You learn so much more about yourself than if you're always winning, So it's good to win, but it's also, I think, good to fail so that you can test yourself and see what you're really made of.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's how I talk to my kids, because I'm not a fusser. I'm not gonna be in your room, you make a mistake and I'm yelling, but I just go, so what you gonna do? Mm-hmm. How do you recover? Like what are you going to do? I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You think it out. What are you going to do? So what happened? So when you got to ORNL, you figured out you like isotopes. So she gets, who says that? But you really like isotopes and separating them. How did you kind of find your place there and figure out, like, this is where I want to contribute?
So it was more or less my job. So my job was a technician, and our job was to like separate like bulk radioisotopes. And but I wanted to get more into the small scale kind of independent research avenue. And so I went from being like a bulk like operations type of technician to more a research and development type technician. And so I was assisting, at the time that we did the Tennessee Discovery, I was assisting my mentor, Dr. Rose Bowles. She was the one who was leading our small group to purify the berkelium. And I knew that I liked that because it was more my hands directly doing something that was going to change something else. Whereas, before it was more or less like everybody was doing everything at the same time. Even though it was still a team, it was more, I don't want to say intimate, but it was more direct. And I feel like I had more of a direct control over what we were trying to do. And I liked that. And so eventually, moved on from a technician to research professional. And so been doing project management and of course my educational outreach stuff, as well as research and working on my PhD.
So with all the fanfare, and I didn't realize this, with all the fanfare of being considered a mark in history in terms of first Black woman a part of this team, I didn't realize that you had a disappointing moment with all of this. What happened? Because I feel like these are good wake up calls for people to understand everything's not rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah, oh yeah, everything doesn't just happen. Like in the movies where they have these biopics of people, there's always like that pivotal moment where it's like okay, this is what changed their life. And, I had one before in the military, kind of how I thought about myself. But then later on, when they had this celebratory luncheon at the lab, and everyone was getting recognized for their involvement with Tennessee, and I did not see my name anywhere on there. And I was like, I know that I, did this. And so, I definitely felt heavily disappointed. I was gutted. And so I left out of the luncheon area, and my mentor, she came out there and she told me, she said, you belong in there. You deserve to be in there because no one can take from you what you know. You know what you know, and nobody can take that from you. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Because people can assume what I know, or people can assume my level of intelligence, but only I know what I'm capable of. And whether or not I show people what I'm capable of or not is up to me. But at that moment, I was like, I know I belong there. And so we had that all rectified, and it was updated to have me included. And but it was still just a moment where I realized, not everybody's gonna be cheering for you. Yeah, not everybody's going to want you there or want you in the room. And so sometimes you just have to bust the door down and say, I deserve to be here.
And you showed up to work the next day.
I did, I sure did. Fully moisturized, girl.
Ready to go.
Ready.
What has been what would you say would be like the crowning spotlight of your life? I mean, you have one of those resumes where I could pick out like 5 or 10 things, but would it be being Grand Marshal back at your university?
Oh my goodness,
that's huge. You went back to
awesome.
TSU this homecoming.
Yes, I was one of the Grand Marshals for homecoming this year at Tennessee State, and it was such an amazing experience to just represent my university in that way, and to be able to represent the era, I guess, that I came from. I guess I'm an old head now, but still,
that's what they say.
That's okay. I'll wear that with pride. But just to be able to say this is what can come out of an HBCU. This is me, and I got what I know, and my confidence and my ability to navigate in certain spaces. I got that from Tennessee State. And it was just such an honor. But as far as like the honor of my life,
yes.
Gosh, there's so many of them. But of course, I love being John Phelps' wife. And he's like my best friend. Like we are in a stage where I really am having fun. Like we are having fun with each other, and just enjoying my family and my kids, and just really purposely living life each day with just that purpose in mind. Like, what am I here for? What am I going to leave behind for them, and what am I going to leave behind for the community to remember? And so just really trying to live intentionally. So I'm doing it for my family. I do it for them, and I'm doing it, of course, for the community. But it makes me feel good to be able to do that for them. So I think that's like the highlight. That's what I enjoy the most, is being able to leave something for them.
Is it exciting when you go back, whether it's high school or college or just here in the community meeting kids, to talk to them and let them see you're a real person you can touch, that has jumped into, because beyond the school books and the textbooks where you see these figures where you can, okay, look at her, she's got a career in engineering, and she's doing it, like she's doing it.
Yeah, I like doing that, because for the people that I may have idolized when I was younger, they were just so far away from me. They were just like, that's just a distant dream to be able to meet them or interact with them or talk with them. So when I go out into the community, I interact with students, I interact with school kids. I go to my children's school and I do little science experiments with them. I love that because they're just so in awe of the fact that a woman is doing this, or a Black woman is doing this, or that this kind of stuff exists, like this kind of science exists, and it's so cool and it's fun. And when you get that little aha moment, like, oh, I get it, that's like, okay, yes, I did it. You know, that's what I came here for. I came for that aha moment. And I want them to be able to see that this is something that they can do. This is something that they can be and become, and they can have fun with it, and they can see themselves doing it, like literally see themselves doing it.
What's been the hardest part of your career?
Oh, God. There's a couple of things, but I think the hardest thing is just navigating the spaces I have to sometimes by myself. That's the hardest part. But I think the harder part is like putting on that mantle of, I got this, when sometimes I come in the room and I have no idea, you know, and that's okay. And I tell people
We've
that,
all
like,
been there.
Yeah, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in this meeting. I have no idea what you're talking about, but let me go and Google it afterwards.
Because one thing, I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to know eventually. I might not know in that moment. But, you know, I guess the appearance of being strong when I'm not, but not letting anybody else know that, especially in, you know, the spaces that we have to navigate, you know, because and I say this often, for a very, very long time, I was the only either woman, black person, or the combination of both in the settings that I was in this nuclear field. And that's not to say there's not a lot of us in the field, because we are present. It's just that we're so spread out that for the most part, most of us experience our careers by ourselves. And so we have to navigate and we have to build ourselves up,
Right.
because we don't have that, we don't have that community that like helps build us up. But the wonderful thing that I have found is that I have been able to establish that community of, you know, fellow women, black women who are also involved in science, who work at the lab, who work at other places around Knoxville, and we build each other up, because there is nothing wrong with cheering on another woman who is doing the dang thing. And
That's
so
right.
I love it. I love to see other women like succeed and doing it, because that just makes me want to like do more as well and be like, look, we can have this really positive and effective change, and you know, we're coming for you.
I love it.
We're coming for you. So
Let's talk about Yo STEM.
Oh yes.
What's that? For the folks who don't know about this wonderful youth group.
Yes. So Yo STEM is youth outreach in science, technology, engineering, and math. It was founded in 2017 by my wonderful friend Candace Halbert, who we are working on our PhDs together. So we constantly check in. Oh yes, we decided, we were like, you know what? Let's just go get our PhDs. And so we both enrolled in UT. Who does that? So, but we help each other, like we build each other up, we check in on each other. But Yo STEM is just a dream of hers, and something that I definitely believed in when she brought it to me. And we were all in with just bringing science, technology, engineering, and math experiences to underrepresented, and I will say systemically underrepresented minorities. And so this is like a calling, to be able to bring those experiences to these kids and change the trajectory of their lives. Because they may have had like one thing like, oh, my mom and daddy want me to do this, or, oh, I'm gonna play basketball, or I'm gonna do something else with my life. But now we've given them another option. Whether or not they take it, that's their decision. But we've at least laid it out there for them. Like, this is something you can do, and it's fun. And you get to travel. I mean, our robotics team, they travel. Yes, they're our very first year having our robotics team. They won second place in the world competition. Second.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, so that's how much of an impact we're having, and how much our kids really enjoy being a part of the program. So definitely love Yo STEM, and hopefully we can continue it and reach out to more schools, reach out to more organizations, and get them involved and on board with our mission. So.
Wow. Do you ever sit at home and just be like, wow, this little life of mine has panned out pretty well?
It's not what I expected. No, it's not what I saw from my life, but I do remember at one point in time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do something. And I didn't have any idea whether I was going to be scooping ice cream or, using flasks and bottles and stuff. But I felt like I was always going to do something. And so I feel like because of that internal intention that I put within myself, I kind of like manifested it, it just kind of manifested itself. And, I do think some parts of it is like totally unbelievable. I can't believe that happened to me, but it did. And there's nothing made up about it. I can't like change my story because these are real things that happen to real people and me. And it just all ties back into I was where I was supposed to be for that to happen. And that just created this person that is sitting here and being able to, share their story and their experiences.
For any little girl who may be watching, what would you say to them to give them the inspiration to, jump into this? Don't be intimidated, because it's a very intimidating field. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of count yourself out before you even get started.
Sometimes.
You're like, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
But what would you say to them? Maybe they're good in science, and this is just the start for them.
It's okay to be different. It's okay to stand out and be yourself in your differentness, because eventually it's going to pay off. You invest in yourself and invest in what you think you can do. Eventually it will be what you know you can do. And guess what? If you know you can do it, nobody can take that from you. So that's what I would tell them.
And last, why do you stay here in East Tennessee? You can move on and go do the next thing.
I actually like it here. I've lived in a couple of big cities. I lived in Chicago, and that's a little bit too much for me. I lived in San Diego. I loved it there. But I like and I lived in Nashville, I grew up in Nashville, and I lived in the old Nashville, not the new Nashville. That is not, not the one that I'm like, I have no idea where I'm at. But, so the big cities, it was just a little bit too much for me. And so I like Knoxville because it's not too small and it's not like a big city like Chicago, but it's like just right. And you have your circle of friends and you have, your career. And I think this was just obviously where I was supposed to be for all of these things to happen. And I like the mountains. I like being able to, get to Atlanta or or to North Carolina or to Nashville in just like 3-4 hours. And so it's kind of an ideal place, and it's far enough away and close enough for family. And I enjoy the family that I have created here and that I have made for myself, the community. And so I like it here for now.
What's next? What's next for you after you knock out this doctorate?
Oh, Jesus,
what's the big picture? What do you see yourself doing over the years?
I definitely want to expand more on some of the course offerings I have at Pellissippi State. So I teach radiochemistry as an adjunct professor there, and it turned out I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so I actually finished my second year of teaching, and so I'll be going to my third year this coming up fall. But I want to look into more expanding like nuclear engineering and radiochemistry and just like the core STEM sciences to community colleges and certificate programs, just kind of like helping people get their toe in. Because once you get that little toe in, it just opens up a whole world of possibilities for you. We just had our very first student accept a job offer at ORNL from the pathway we helped organize at Pellissippi State. So I was so proud of him, and I'm so excited about what the future of this pathway is going to look like. And I have all sorts of ideas in my head. So mainly I think focusing on just bringing more opportunities to the people. It's for the people. So.
And on that note, we will wrap it up.
All right.
Thank you. You are everything I thought you were, and that says a lot.
Oh, well,
that
thank
says
you.
a lot. Thank you so much.
Tearsa. Thank you.